which is fantastic. So not only do we have a basic greeting program now, but we also have a way to verify if we're getting a name that meets certain criteria. It has to be at least 2 characters. And the reason 2 characters, right? There's a lot of 2-character names out, right? Like name like Ed, right? So we want to support those 2 name characters, and then we're also verifying if the user hasn't given us a 2 name character max 5 times, which I think is really important. So how do we take this to the next level, right? So now we have, you know, our loops. We know kind of a little bit about loops. You know, we can prompt users for information. We can validate the information. We understand that there's this concept of methods. And I think really to do that, what I want to do is kind of create like a text game, questions and answers. And obviously, since you guys are watching me, you're going to know the answers to all these questions because I'm going to have to code them in. But it's a really cool way to make a basic make a basic text game. English is hard today. And get some users and have a little bit of fun with programming. And this can kind of be done at different levels. And as we go through the different levels of creating this game, we'll talk about data structures, specifically lists and dictionaries, and how we can kind of simplify our program as we write it. So let's save this. Let's create a new file, right? I don't want to keep iterating on this this main.py. So we're going to go back 1 space. So we're going to cd back into our Python directory. We're going to make a new directory called Q&A. We'll call it Q&A text game. That. And then we'll go into our Q&A text. And what we'll do is we'll make a main.py file in there. And then we'll go ahead and we'll open the folder. So we'll go back here. And we should still be in our documents code Python from last time. And we should be going into our Q&A text game, and we'll open that folder. Obviously, we're just going to have our blank, you know, main Python file in there. Let's go ahead and hit our Control-tilde key back to get our terminal, or we can just go to View, and we can go into Terminal here, so we can click on View Terminal if we want to do it that way. So now that we know how to create a function, we know how to prompt users for input. We know how to modify strings somewhat. I think it's going to be pretty cool to kind of make our own text game. And I think the core principle to that is, you know, comparing, just like we did with in our previous prompt of our greeting application, or our greeting, you know, program. We verified the max length of characters in the name given for at least 2, and we also verified and compared the loop iteration, how many times we prompted for the user's, you know, name until it was like, all right, we prompt you too many times. We don't want to prompt you anymore. So I want to make a text. Let's see. I want to make a text Q&A game where we ask questions and receive responses and give a score. So on our first one, we'll do like a basic 10 question. Yeah, let's do 5. We'll do 5 instead. We'll basic 5 question challenge. Where we'll give a question, we'll prompt the user, we'll get the input, and we'll verify if what they've given us was correct. And the first way I want to do this is I want to start and I want to make a question function. And we'll say like ask question, check answer. And the reason is we'll take in a question, and we'll also take in an answer. And what we'll do is we'll say user response is input, and we'll pass in the question. And what we'll do is we'll do a question plus, and we'll do a line break. So that way it's the question, colon, a new like a little white space where we can take the user response in. and we'll store that as the user response. The next thing we'll do is we'll say if the user response is equal to the answer, then return true. That is, we actually went ahead and we got a valid response from the user because their response was equal to our answer, which is very cool. And if not, then we'll return false. So something we didn't talk about yet, and this is pretty much building blocks of software engineering and programming languages in general. It's what's called truthy statements, right? And what these are is like we evaluate whether a condition is true or false. And you'll have super complex truthy algorithms, which is looking at data and looking at input and trying to determine if something is true. And based on the true or false of that equation, you'll do a thing. So whether it's true or false, you will take an action. And this is like the basic building blocks of programs, especially when you're getting started, is taking some data, whether that is reading it from a file, taking in some HTTP request, or scraping it from some data, finding your data, and even that finding of data could be truthy. Does the string contain this, or does the string start with this, true or false, right? So what we're going to do in our ask question check, and this actually probably should be written differently. This is not really Python syntax. It should probably be like this. Sorry, I write a lot of Go, guys, and that is more of a private function in Go. That syntax, but this is your more Pythonic function would be all lowercase, separated by underscores, ask question, check answer. So we'll ask the question, we'll check the answer, and then we'll return true or false. And you can kind of see our VS Code is helping us here. It's saying that we take in two variables, question and answer, and then we return a Boolean value. And that's what true or false in, their Boolean value. Cool. So we're going to make our main function down here. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask a couple of questions and check some. So I said we're going to do 5, right? So if we see here, I say ask 5 questions and give a score. We'll ask 5 questions and we'll give a score. So the main thing I want to do off the bat is I want to create a like a question correct. Okay. And we'll set this to 0, right? So because essentially at the start, there's no right questions. We don't have any right questions. So what we'll do here is we'll say if this is true, then what we'll do is we'll add 1 to our question check. And this is one of the times where we'll do the +1, right? We'll go ahead and we'll add in our if statement at the top. Actually, why did I do that? That's probably like the slowest way to do this. Should probably just do like this. Here's our 5 questions. Obviously, we don't have a question and answer in there, but we'll do something like, what is your fave color? Or what is my favorite color? Like blue, right? Whose favorite color isn't blue? I mean, there's a lot of people that are probably like, my favorite color is not blue. Well, mine's not either, so it's okay. We'll go ahead and we'll add, and we're going to refactor this. Like obviously, like we're seeing like a lot of repeating code, but this is where we're going to start with, and then we'll actually go ahead and make this more efficient. We'll use some data structures and things to kind of smooth out this code. But I think it's a very good, very basic way. As a new engineer, I would probably approach this question. And we'll ask is, what's my favorite food? What is my favorite food? And we'll say pizza. I'll say, what is my favorite sport? Say golf. What is a game? We'll say sports, or we'll say video game. And we'll say, what is favorite? That's why I wanted to do 5 instead of 10 questions. It's kind of hard to come up with 10 questions off the rip. What is my favorite basketball team? How about that? And what we'll do is we'll add Heat. And this is kind of cool. What we're going to do is we're going to add a question mark and instead just put a blank space here. Because obviously we didn't put any punctuation in these questions. Obviously this is an ask, question, check, answer. So I really feel like we should be adding the question mark here because this will always be prompting for questions and getting some answer and then comparing them, right? And then at the end, we have to say, we have to print out scores, right? So your score is, we'll give some score back. And here we're going to use the dot format string. And we'll do some like basic, question check. So we'll do we'll do 5 over the amount of questions that were correct. We'll do times 100 because we'll do this. Your score is, and that's what we'll do. We'll just do a basis of 10 of 100 points, right? So like the max, like each question would be actually that's like a percentage like test score. Let's not do that. Instead, let's just do every question is 10 points. I think that's better. That makes more sense. I don't want to do like you got 100% of the question right. So let's do this as a score because I mean we could have done that. We could have said you got 100% of the question right. Yeah, let's do that. I like that better. You got oops of the question. So we're going to do, obviously, there's only 5 questions here. So we're going to do 5 over the right amount of questions. And then whatever that gives us back, which is the reverse. Right? Pretty sure. Yeah. Do this. Check. Because if we got 8 over 5, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. All right, cool. Hard to do math after a long day of work, guys. Yeah. There should be 5. Yeah. So that would be our percentage. All right, cool. And I didn't want to do percent here, but it was giving me like a weird formatting thing. So this is something that's interesting with dot format, is it will try to do these string formatters. This might work, it might not. We'll try it, but I have a funny feeling it's going to do some weird formatting because we're using this percent dot format. We'll just say percent because I don't want to get too crazy in this. All right, cool. So let's ask our questions, right? Let's get out of here. Let's play our Python game, right? Obviously, what didn't we do? We have our ask question, check answer function. We have our main. We never called main. Remember, main's got to be called. That's your main end. Functions implicitly have to be called. Therefore, we have to call our. What's my favorite color? I'm gonna put my favorite color is red. My food is pizza. My favorite sport is basketball. My favorite video game is Wii Sports. And my favorite basketball team is Heat. So it says I got 20%. Why did I get 20% right? Kind of weird, right? Let's check. I gave it the pizza, right? So I like the blue I got wrong. The pizza I got right. The sport I got wrong. The Wii Sports, I should have gotten that right. And then the Heat I got wrong. I got right? Well, let's go look at our function. Let's go look at our comparison function. So remember, we start at 0, and each question we get right, we add 1. Because this is going to return a true or false statement. And if it's true, we're going to add, 1 to our overall score. And then when we get down to our correct questions, we're going to run it through our percent of questions right, and we're going to mark it. Let's do this again real quick to make sure everything's working. Let's type in blue. Let's type in pizza. Let's type in, what's my favorite sport? Golf. Is that what I put? Yeah. My favorite video game is Wii Sports. My basketball team is Heat. 20%. Something's not going on right here. So what could it be? Could it be that we're not adding the right amount to the check answers? What's going on here? And this is like, I think this is really something that's important to me, is like a lot of times when we go on YouTube and we watch videos of people doing like programs in front of us and stuff, a lot of that stuff's rehearsed. A lot of that stuff is copy and pasta code over and everything. And this is something I really wanted to convey, is a lot of times when you're writing a program, you're going to hit hurdles. These things are going to happen no matter what. And it's really nice to see how someone kind of thinks about why something's not working. Now they can go ahead and fix it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to print out my total correct questions. Whatever I say, whatever this says, I got correct, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do my format, and I'm just going to print out my question correct check, or question correct. Let's go ahead and rename these very quick. I did Control F. It's going to bring up this replace formatter, and we're just going to say for every question correct check, we're going to change the question correct amount, just so we can make this a more transparent name for the variable. So my favorite color is blue. My favorite food is pizza. My favorite sport is golf. My favorite video game is sports. My favorite team is the Heat. So it says I got one correct. That's interesting, right? So obviously, we're not adding what we thought into these correct amounts, right? So there's a strong possibility we inverted the functions. Let's check this out again. Blue says incorrect question or variable. We're just going to do this. We're going to do plus question correct amount. We're going to get past this hurdle because obviously we are not adding these values. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to say that whatever the previous question correct amount, it's going to be equal to the current question correct amount plus 1. And we're going to go back and refactor that later. We'll see, what is the shorthand to do that? Because obviously this becomes pretty verbose. Let's run it again. Blue, whoops, caps is on. Blue. It says question check amount reference before sign. So we're seeing something here, and I did say this right. So let's just check this out. Question correct amount is up here. Type in blue. It says unbound local variable, question correct amount, reference before assignment. So obviously this function we're calling, or this variable we're calling, it thinks that it's not assigned. This is something super interesting when we're doing, I think, global variables. What we're going to do real quick is we're going to move this down, question mark. Move this down into our main function. We're going to explicitly set our current correct amount. There we go. Pizza, golf, wrong, so that, sports. And look, it's working now, guys. So we got our score right, obviously because I typoed golf, and we got an 80%. And obviously because it's doing some float mathematics, because this becomes a decimal and then gets added to 100, which I'll show you how to remove that from a formatting perspective. We get our 80% of the questions are right, and we got 4 correct. So what did we learn? Right? Variable assignments are important. we were not adding the right amount into our question correct variable. And the way we found that out was, and that could be for a couple of reasons, believe it or not. I think the major thing is that